Imagine a tiny creature, a fly, whose young don't just buzz around your picnic. Oh no, these are far more sinister. The larvae of some flies, like the New World screwworm, are flesh-eating parasites. They can burrow into the living tissue of animals and sometimes even humans. This causes terrible pain and can lead to serious infections, sometimes proving fatal for the host. It's a grim thought, isn't it? These minuscule maggots can turn a small, insignificant scratch into a life-threatening wound. The natural world, in all its beauty, also possesses these rather unsettling survival strategies. This particular strategy causes immense suffering for countless creatures across the globe. But humanity, in its quest to understand and sometimes manage nature, has found a rather ingenious way to combat these flesh-eating menaces. It doesn't involve spraying vast clouds of harsh chemicals which can harm other, more benign insects and the wider environment. Instead, scientists looked to the flies themselves for an answer. They developed a truly remarkable method using what we might call nuclear flies. Now, that sounds rather dramatic, perhaps even a little alarming. But these are not radioactive monsters from a science fiction film. They are, in fact, heroes in a very clever biological pest control story. Flesh-eating parasites, particularly the screwworm, have historically caused devastating losses in livestock. Imagine herds of cattle or sheep, their bodies riddled with these burrowing larvae. The economic impact on farmers and communities can be enormous, affecting their livelihoods and food security. Beyond livestock, these parasites also pose a threat to beloved pets and even vulnerable human populations, especially in remote areas with limited access to veterinary or medical care. The constant threat of infestation creates an environment of anxiety and hardship. It's a relentless battle that has been waged for centuries, with humans often feeling helpless against such a persistent and gruesome foe. So, how did scientists turn an enemy into an ally? They realized that if they could somehow stop these flies from reproducing successfully, the population would naturally decline. This led to the development of something called the sterile insect technique, or SIT. It's a wonderfully clever and targeted approach. Instead of trying to kill all the adult flies, which is often a losing battle, the focus shifted to their ability to create the next generation of these harmful parasites. This method uses the fly's own biology against them, a subtle yet powerful intervention in the natural cycle of these specific harmful insects, a truly innovative step forward. So, what exactly are these nuclear flies? They are not a new species created in a laboratory. They are the very same species as the flesh-eating parasites we aim to control, such as the New World screwworm fly. The crucial difference lies in their ability to reproduce. These special flies are rendered sterile. This means that although they can mate, they cannot produce any offspring. This sterility is the key to their power in controlling the wild, fertile populations of their own kind. It's a biological trick, a way of using nature's own processes to achieve a very specific and beneficial outcome for both animals and humans. The process of creating these sterile flies is quite fascinating and precise. Scientists raise millions upon millions of the target fly species in special facilities. When the flies are in their pupal stage, just before they emerge as adults, they are exposed to a carefully controlled dose of radiation, usually gamma rays or X-rays. This radiation damages the reproductive cells of the insects. It's a very delicate operation, ensuring that the radiation dose is enough to make them sterile, but not so high that it harms their overall health, lifespan, or their all-important ability to fly, mate, and compete with wildflies. They must be just as vigorous as their wild counterparts. It's very important to understand that these sterile flies are not radioactive themselves. The radiation treatment is a one-time event during their development. They do not carry radiation, nor can they make anything else radioactive. They are perfectly safe to release into the environment. They pose no threat to humans, animals, or other insects. Think of it like a medical X-ray. The X-rays help doctors see inside, but you don't become radioactive afterwards. These flies are simply unable to father the next generation, which is precisely what makes them so valuable in this clever pest control strategy, a safe and targeted intervention. The core idea is beautifully simple. Once these sterile male flies are produced in large numbers, they are ready to be released. The plan relies on the fact that female flies in the wild will mate with these sterile males just as readily as they would with fertile wild males. If a wild female screwworm fly, for instance, mates with one of these specially prepared sterile males, she will lay eggs as usual. However, because the male was sterile, those eggs will never hatch. No new flesh-eating larvae will emerge from that particular union, breaking the life cycle. The next stage in this remarkable process involves releasing these sterile male flies into areas where the wild parasite population is causing problems. Scientists release truly vast numbers of them, often from aeroplanes, ensuring they spread out across the target zone. The goal is for the sterile males to vastly outnumber the wild, fertile males. This increases the chances that wild females will encounter and mate with a sterile partner rather than a fertile one. It's a numbers game, a carefully calculated strategy to overwhelm the natural population with these special, non-reproducing individuals. This aerial ballet of flies carries with it the hope of relief for communities below. Once released, these sterile male flies begin their crucial work. They fly around, they seek out mates. They behave just like any other normal fly of their species. They compete with the wild fertile males for the attention of the wild females. Because they are healthy and vigorous despite their sterility, they are good competitors. The females cannot tell the difference between a sterile male and a fertile one. This is absolutely critical for the success of the program. If the sterile males were weaker or less attractive, the females would simply choose the wild males, and the technique would not be effective in the slightest. When a wild female fly mates with one of these released sterile males, she will still lay her eggs. She has fulfilled her biological imperative to reproduce, or so she thinks. But crucially, these eggs will not hatch. They are infertile. No new generation of flesh-eating larvae will emerge from these particular eggs. Each time a sterile male successfully mates, it is a small victory, preventing potentially hundreds of new parasites from developing. This is the silent, unseen battle being waged, where the only casualties are the unhatched eggs of a dangerous pest, a quiet revolution in pest management. Over time, with repeated releases of sterile males, this has a dramatic effect on the wild population. As more and more females mate with sterile males, fewer and fewer viable offspring are produced. The overall population of the pest fly begins to decline generation by generation. Eventually, if the program is maintained effectively, the pest population can be reduced so drastically that it is effectively eradicated from an area, or at least suppressed to a level where it no longer poses a significant threat. This incredible technique, the sterile insect technique, has achieved some truly astonishing successes around the world. One of the most celebrated examples is the eradication of the New World screwworm fly from North and Central America. This devastating pest, which once caused hundreds of millions of dollars in damage to livestock annually, was systematically pushed back. Starting in the United States in the 1950s, the program gradually moved southwards, freeing country after country from this scourge. It was a monumental effort requiring international cooperation and sustained commitment over decades, a testament to human ingenuity and perseverance. Another significant victory has been in controlling various species of fruit flies, such as the Mediterranean fruit fly or medfly. These pests can devastate fruit and vegetable crops, leading to huge economic losses for farmers and impacting food supplies. Sterile medflies have been used successfully in many parts of the world, from California to Chile, to protect valuable agricultural industries. Similarly, efforts against the tsetse fly in parts of Africa, which transmits sleeping sickness to humans and similar disease, nagana, to cattle, have shown great promise using this method, offering hope against a truly debilitating vector. The benefits to human health and communities are immense. By controlling flesh-eating parasites like the screwworm, we reduce the suffering of animals and prevent horrific infections in humans. This means healthier livestock, which in turn supports the livelihoods of farmers and ensures a more stable food supply. For communities that rely heavily on agriculture, this can be transformative. Reducing the incidence of diseases like sleeping sickness transmitted by tsetse flies has a direct and profound impact on human well-being, allowing people to lead healthier, more productive lives, free from the constant threat of these debilitating illnesses. Therefore, The continued use and development of the sterile insect technique, these nuclear flies, remains incredibly important. It is a powerful, environmentally friendly tool in our arsenal against some of the world's most damaging pests. It offers a targeted approach, minimizing harm to beneficial insects and the wider ecosystem, unlike broad-spectrum pesticides. As we face ongoing and new challenges from insect pests, particularly with a changing climate, innovative and sustainable solutions like this are more vital than ever. It is a shining example of how scientific understanding can lead to truly remarkable outcomes for the betterment of all.